I pray that we encounter God tonight, that the mind of God should brush against our minds, whether through the words of a sermon or a prayer, from within a picture or a piece of music, or during the Eucharist. Here at St. Paul's, our Advent focus has been on angels from the realms of glory, angels as they appear throughout the Advent story. Tonight, I want to look particularly at the angels bringing their tidings of great joy to the shepherds, sharing the good news first with the humblest in society. The book on angels we have been studying and preaching from this month reminds us that although this picture shows angels above the cave of Jesus' birth, we should consider the possibility of angels, serried ranks of angels, above our own heads at all times. But as I look at this picture, I have to ask myself, so were these angels insane or what? Because here they are, rejoicing madly, and they know very well what happens next. This is not a renter crowd of lesser angels who don't know any better. These are the cherubim and the seraphim, the highest angels, all-knowing. As they sang, they knew that Simeon would hold this tiny baby in his arms in the temple in Jerusalem and tell Mary that a sword would pierce her heart. They knew that the voice of Rachel would be heard in Ramah, mourning her massacred children and refusing to be comforted. They knew that later in Nazareth, Jesus would be rejected, a prophet without honor in his own land. And they certainly knew all about the crucifixion and what preceded it. So, is this joy fake news? Is it a joy of the gaps, celebrating the light while it lasts, before darkness inevitably descends again? I don't think it is a joy of nevertheless, of even though, or in spite of. I think it is a joy of wholeness, taking the darkness as its strength and foundation. As the Gospel tells us, the darkness does not overcome the light. The light does not overcome the darkness by turning away from it or pretending it doesn't exist. The light engages the darkness and is not overwhelmed by it. The angels' rejoicing and our rejoicing is a choice not to be overwhelmed by the brokenness of this world. It is a choice for wholeness. Rejoicing is not just something you get to do when you are lucky enough to be living in happy circumstances for a while. Rejoicing is a choice. What makes this joy, this angelic exuberance, a very strong joy indeed? It is a durable joy with deep roots. This year, joy that can withstand, sustainable joy, really matters. Here we are in the middle of the chaos and uncertainty of COVID. There is no one in this church or listening online who has not been touched by grief. Maybe just the brush of a wing against your cheek, maybe the waters closing right over your head. We rejoice not in spite of this, but within it. This incorporation of darkness into light, this weaving of grief into joy, is a thread running through this evening's readings. In the Isaiah reading, those who keep watch shout for joy. Pay attention to who or what breaks out into song. The singing comes from a very desolate place. The ruins of Jerusalem sing, break out together in song, O ruins of Jerusalem, for Yahweh comforts his people. It is a destroyed city which is rejoicing, so that the joy becomes the foundation for rebuilding. I don't think we can understand this with our heads, only with our hearts. Just as it is only our hearts that can understand the strange time sequences of Christmas, when God's time and human time fold into and out of each other. Because Christmas is not Beethoven's birthday. We aren't celebrating something that happened a long time ago. We are celebrating and experiencing something that happened 2,000 years ago and exists as a possibility right now. We can invite God into the chaotic clutter of our hearts right now. God made that heart. God knew the intricacies of that heart, its rhythms and all its pathways before we were even born. God can find the God space there if we allow. So my prayer for all of us tonight is that we may be open to the possibility of a divine encounter, that we may allow ourselves to be enchanted anew by the divine. Amen.